And the Niners are off to a somewhat of a weird start when it comes to free agency. And we're going to talk about it today when I'm joined by Aaron of 49ers First Takes. Dude, what's going on? Thank you for coming on, Aaron.
Been a weird couple of days, man, with all these moves happening.
It has.
Some of them we knew were coming. But it's this is an interesting off season to say the least. But I'm doing pretty well, to be honest with you. I'm doing okay. I don't know if the 49ers as an organization are doing okay right now. They're doing a lot of spring cleaning, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. Just massive spring cleaning. And it's to the point where it makes people wonder what's going on, right? And look, like I always say, full transparency, I was a little upset, especially yesterday when we found out the news about Joey Bosa. Now, look, some people would say, look, Bosa's past his prime. Bosa, Joey that is not the guy he used to be. And I agree he's not. But I think at this point, I wanted to see the Niners make a move to help reinforce that defensive line, to give it some depth, add a guy with experience so that when you do draft, whoever you're going to draft, you got some guys in there that are veterans that can help mentor these guys. But no, that didn't work out either. So let's go over all the people that left, all the players that left over this past few days. Let's go ahead and bring that on right now. This is it. And it's a hefty list of guys. We're talking about Aaron Banks, DreArea, Ward, Hufanga, Greenlaw, Moore, Mitchell, Dobbs, Samuel. A lot of players, a lot of people are freaking out. A lot of, like, Emmanuel Acho is saying, like, they're gutting their team. Ryan Clark is like, they should trade CMC or Nick Bosa. Look, at the end of the day, right? Is it jarring to see this many players leave? Yes, of course it is. It's like, holy shit, what's going on? And they're not signing anyone of notice. They're signing some quality players, but they're not signing any impact players. But they kind of preach this at the combine. He says, we've spent a lot of money, as what John Lynch said. And so, they're looking to kind of pull back. Sorry. They said we want to pull back how much we're spending, right? So when you look at this list, you go, okay, Aaron Banks, we weren't going to bring him back. He had a horrible year last season. We weren't going to even give him close to what he wanted to get. He got 4 years, $77 million by the Packers. Hey, Green Bay, have fun with him. Maybe he bounces back. Maybe he doesn't. But this is not a contract that I would have wanted the Niners to offer this guy. So is it jarring that he left? I guess, but it's not a guy that I really wanted to keep anyway. DreArea Ward made it clear that he wasn't going to come back. His wife didn't even want to live in California. So yes, he is gone, and we knew he was going to leave. We knew that, but it's why we drafted Renardo Green. Well, it's not why we drafted, but thankfully we drafted Renardo Green, and so now we have him and Diamador Lenore as your two corners. And we signed some as well, so this isn't that bad of a loss. And he had a down year last year. But he also had a lot going on in his life, and I think he let everyone know that he wanted a full reset going into this next season. Talanoa Hufanga. I love Huff, but he had to go.
Yeah.
You got Jair Brown. You have Malik Mustafa. They also signed another safety. They're probably going to draft a safety as well. Malachi Moore is a guy that they could be drafting in this upcoming draft. So I think it was time for Hufanga to move on. If he would have stayed, there's no guarantee that he would have been your starter. So I think that he needed to go. The biggest one, I would say of everyone on here, the one that hurts the most is Dre Greenlaw going to the Broncos for 3 years, $35 million. Aaron, how did you feel about seeing Dre Greenlaw follow Hufanga over the Broncos?
He was the only one on this list, if you look at this list really closely, that was the one that hurt. Because, yeah, the injury-prone part of his game is, it's very well known. He's had a lot of injuries, especially the Achilles in the Super Bowl. But just a little bit of what we got last year when he returned for that 2 quarters. He made the Niners defense kind of go back to what they look like in previous years. This was definitely the one that hurt the most. Aaron Banks, we talked about this on probably one of the first times me and you did this YouTube thing together, where we were, co-host, and said that Aaron Banks was out the door and we didn't have a problem with it. Javarius Ward, also, we knew that was coming too, especially now when you think about everything that he had to deal with in the offseason with his losing a child. His wife wanted to get out of California. That we knew was coming. And it made it easier with the drafting of Bernardo Green, who played really well last year, and Diamondor Lenore at the other corner. So those moves, those at least those three or those four, the one, like you said, the one that hurts the most is Dre, because him and Fred Warner were like a package that came together, the two of
Yeah.
them, like
Yeah.
Warner, or kind of like back when we had Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis, same thing. So out of all the, I mean, you look at the rest of the list. I know we're going to get to it, but like, yeah, Greenlaw, the one that hurt the most. But then we thought about this too. We talked about this on a prior stream, probably with Sterling Bennett, the three of us, and we were like, yeah, Greenlaw would be great to come back, but Greenlaw, there's no guarantee that Greenlaw returns to his former self, and he is a injury-prone player. If we said, and we talked about this, that if they were going to offer him something, it was going to be a high upside deal with a low base salary, because the Niners had to protect themselves. Niners didn't. I mean, I would assume they offered him something, but it was nowhere near 3 years,
No way.
$55 million. So, yeah, it hurts that he's gone out of this list. I kind of miss a DreArea Ward too, just because he was pretty solid as a corner. The way you look at it right now, like I said, the list is pretty extensive, but Greenlaw definitely hurts the most.
And you look at the rest of the players. I mean, look, Jalen Moore, I would love to keep the guy, but not at what he got paid.
No way.
That was ridiculous. And so a lot of these guys, they got contracts that were like, look, bro, if you want to pay him that much money, go right ahead. I'm glad the Niners didn't. The frustrating part about all this is that we want to see the Niners get better. As fans, we want to see them get better. And so we want to see them sign players. And so far, they just haven't. And so that's been the hard part for a lot of the fans, is that they want to see improvement. And so far, they haven't really done that. And that's been the hardest thing to watch. Strawberry React says, Dre is the only one that don't have a replacement for. I'm high on Winters. I see him more as linebacker number 3. I agree. I don't know if D. Winters is the answer there. I do see them trying to draft somebody at linebacker. I don't see them going after free agent. We saw what happened last season when it came to Eric Kendricks, how he bounced on them, and then they went to Devondre Campbell. And that's a whole nother stream you can talk about that guy. So I do think they will draft somebody. Where they're going to draft it, I'm not sure, but they will address that position somewhere in the draft. But I think that Curtis Robinson and D. Winters, that will be the competition for the number
Tatum
2 linebacker
Bethune as well.
Tatum Bethune, but I still think that it's going to be between Winters and Curtis Robinson. I mean, look, they signed Curtis Robinson to a 1-year deal. They could have tendered him a contract. They could but they signed him to a contract, which means that he's going to be on the team. He will not be a practice squad guy. So that's how confident they feel with Curtis Robinson. And there's a chance that he could be linebacker number 2. Him and D. Winters can split that time. Is it the best option? No. But it is an option nonetheless. So we'll see how that kind of shakes out. So you look at Elijah Mitchell, probably wasn't going to come back. He's been beat up. He's had a long career. You know, some people say that he's got a big man's game with a small man's body. He's often injured, but doesn't fumble. He got 4 years from the Chiefs, which is insane. But if you look at the upside for the Chiefs, right, what have they been needing for a while? They've been needing a reliable running back who doesn't fumble, and that's what he is. And so they gambled on, hey, look, if this guy can stay healthy, this guy's always been productive when he's on the field. I rarely ever did we see Elijah Mitchell, especially when he was a starter, go out there and just have a shit game where he's fumbling, where he's just not being productive. He doesn't do that. He's very productive, very solid running back. The problem is he's had injuries. So they took a chance on him. But they didn't spend much, $3.5 million for 4 years. That's pretty good. If you're the Chiefs, you're like, hey, we just got this guy for fucking 4 years. It'd be one thing if it was like a 1-year deal for $3.5 million, then you're like, oh, damn it. But no, this guy, I think it's a good contract for the Chiefs. Josh Dobbs, we knew he was leaving. He didn't want to be here. I think I really feel like that was a signing by Lynch that he thought, hey, this is going to be good. And right away, Shanahan was like, I don't like that idea. Because he never really saw much of Dobbs. And then there's Deebo Samuel, which we knew he was going to leave anyway. He wanted a fresh start. He kind of shit the bed this past season, especially when he complained about not getting the ball, and then he dropped the ball multiple times. So his ego was smashed. His reputation was tarnished, and he wanted out. And so they traded him to the Commanders for a 5th-round pick. So when you look at this list, some of these players, it's a tough pill to swallow, but a lot of them, we knew that they were probably going to leave. I mean, realistically, right? And so let's check out this one here. This is another list by Ari Morov. This gives you a little more clear cut on all the people that are gone. Now, we know, I don't think, what's his name? Leonard Floyd is on this list, but Leonard Floyd got cut. That was a surprise. I was surprised they got rid of Leonard Floyd. I thought they would keep him on, but they apparently don't want to pay him that money. And I think maybe he's a better player if he's on a team that is loaded with talent. And maybe they felt like this is not really the guy for us anymore. And it could have been a guy that even Robert Saleh was like, yeah, that's not really the guy I want out there. He's a slender guy, not very good against the run, but he did have a good year in terms of sacks. I think he had 10 sacks. But he's bad against the run. Another guy they lost that was like, oh shit, Malik Collins. They cut him. That was a surprise. It was a surprise, but it wasn't a surprise. I thought I was expecting big things out of Malik Collins, and at the beginning of the year, I thought he looked really good, and then he quickly diminished and was getting pushed off the line trying to stop the run game.
Yeah, he was also pitiful against the run. It seems like
Horrible.
a common theme with a lot of the couple of, as a whole, these lists look really bad, but as you break them down, it's not as bad. I think the thing with me and you is I started in a very positive mindset with this offseason. When they said that they were going to take a different approach, I'm thinking, okay, they're not going to throw money at the first wave of guys, but they're going to get some quality replacements. Defensive line, you've seen none of that right now. Like, what? I'm not panicking, but I mean, the defensive line right now is in a world of trouble. And if you go strictly based on the draft, I mean, are you going to draft 6 defensive linemen?
No, you're not. I mean, they're going to sign some guys. They have to at this point.
Yeah, that's the part that scares me the most. I knew a lot of these moves were coming. I understand them. They look bad from an optics point of view when you look at them as a whole. But the defensive line is the part. I mean, a lot of these secondary moves that we were making, a lot of them are depth. The Niners are trying to increase depth at a very cheap price. I know a lot of people say who every time they want they want to get a guy that's more well known. So I get that part, but the defensive line right now is the part, I think, to me, where it's starting to get me in a bad mood, is because we haven't seen any activity whatsoever. We've seen a lot of guys go out the door, but nothing come through. And essentially what you have right now is Nick Bosa and nobody else. So I want to see something, but we haven't seen anything yet free agency wise. It's like, I don't know, man. That's the the offense was pretty much going to be the same next year. Ben Barch could be your left guard. He looked good at times last year when he played, but he was hurt. But defensively, man, this is going to be a completely different team.
Yeah.
And you asked us in the intro, like, are we going to be any good next year? Like,
that's a big question. And so a lot of us, we saw the release of what's his face, Leonard Floyd. Where is it? I got it right here. So they released Leonard Floyd, which was like, oh man, like what? Okay, so if they're doing this, then that means that they're going to be probably signing Joey Bosa, right? Like, yeah, it's got to mean that. What else could it really mean? Right. Joey Bosa is going to be a Niner.
Right. A lot of sites, a lot of pages.
A lot. And then this happened. The Bills signed Joey Bosa for a contract that could be as big as $15.6 million. I'm sorry. Look, I love the idea of having the Bosa brothers as bookends on the D line, but for for the base salary of $12 million with incentives up to 15.6, I'm sorry. No, thank you. No, thank you.
No way. There's no way.
No way. No freaking way. But here's the thing. The Buffalo Bills did this last year. They cut all those players and ate like $60 million in dead cap. This year, now that they've recovered from that, they can make the signing of a Joey Bosa. Hey, let's bring him on. Look what they had last year, or the year before last. They had Leonard Floyd. Last year, or this past offseason, they got rid of Von Miller. So now they want to replace this guy, replace that bookend with another kind of veteran defensive end, and they went with Joey Bosa. The part that pisses me off is that it was like, if you read the tea leaves, he was coming to the Niners.
Yeah.
But then he decided.
It sound like a lot of people made it sound like behind the scenes that it was a formality. And I think the biggest issue a lot of people had on X was the fact that, no, we didn't want to overpay for him, but it seemed like he was coming to the 49ers with the mind of, hey, I'm going to get paid a lot less. It's probably going to be an incentive-laden deal, and I get to play with my brother.
Yeah.
Everybody thought that. Nobody said we got to pay him a bunch of money, and how that no one ever said that we were that at all. It was just the way that it was made to feel. You felt like the Leonard Floyd being released was just a matter of, it was just a formality, like you said, a formality. Bosa's coming through the door. And then to see that move, and then to see no defensive line moves still since yesterday, it caused a lot of anger. And I have become a little bit more impatient with what the Niners are doing right now. So, yeah, that definitely.
And that's the problem, is that it's patience, and we're losing it. We're losing patience badly because they're not signing anyone of note. But they did make some acquisitions. Trying to log into my account real quick. Sorry about that. They did make some acquisitions, and so we could talk a little bit about that, right? And so, who did they bring in? Well, this is courtesy of Matt Mayoko. But we're talking about cornerbacks: Trey Brown, Trey Tomlinson, tight end Luke Farrell, Luke Gifford. Is a common theme here. Trey, Luke, and then Demarcus Robinson from the Rams, Jason Pincock, and Richie Grant. Out of these signings, which one stands out to you as anything?
Demarcus Robinson to me is the only player that was signed.
Yeah,
where I could see him doing stuff, because he was a reasonably what's the word I'm looking for? Not aggressive, a reasonable
doubt.
He was reasonably productive with the Rams. He didn't get a lot of opportunities. When he got opportunities, he made the best of them. And I know who he is. I've seen him play against us. I always thought, he's not a bad player. He's not like a game changer, like a world beater, but he's a competent National Football League receiver.
Yeah.
And so I saw that one, and that made me feel a little bit better. But a lot of these other moves, a lot of these other players, especially these DBs, nobody knows who the hell these guys are. And if you do, you're like a really big time YouTuber or someone who does content, a podcaster, you might know them. A lot of us who do this YouTube thing, and it's more of like a social thing that we do to talk to each other, nobody knew who those guys were.
Nobody did. I mean, like, we knew Demarcus Robinson, obviously, but a lot of these guys, these are a little bit of the unheard ofs. The guys who were on the bench, or guys who are special teamers. That's one thing they have done, is they've addressed their special team needs. So if anyone has had the biggest voice in the locker room, it's been Brant Boyer, who's been like, I want this guy, I want that guy. And you're like, let's go. They're cheap. Big shout out to Papa J. What's up, man? Good to see you, buddy. But all these names, look, Luke Farrell was the first one that they signed, right? Backup tight end. So already they've replaced Eric Saubert with a guy who's sort of like Eric Saubert. But this guy is known for his blocking. And I guess blocking is a big issue or big key in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So he wanted to make sure that he had a guy that can get that done. And we knew that there was issues with blocking when it came to guys like Cam Latu, when it came to Willis.
Yep.
When it came to even Eric Saubert.
Yep.
So they wanted to make sure that they had a guy who was a quality tight end who could block, and they did that. But they gave him a fuck ton of money. I was like, "Fuck, you could have gave that to somebody else."
They do, but they didn't. Essentially, if you put in signing bonus and you see how long he's going to be here, what is it? It's a 2-year deal, right?
A 2-year deal, yeah. Something
He's
like
only
that.
getting about he's 11 million is signing bonus, I think it is. So 8 million. I'm trying to think. It's like it was like a little over 3 million per year.
Something like that. But still.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think they're looking at it because a lot of people are saying the Niners are going to go to 12 personnel next year.
Yeah.
They're not longer going to be 21 personnel. They're going to change. They're trying to run more outside, yada, 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 because they want to protect Christian McCaffrey's legs with all this interior running. But yeah. The 49ers do not the 49ers, people can't say that the Niners have been stingy over the last couple of years because they haven't.
They can't.
Exactly. They made moves.
Yes.
They went and signed Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
They got Emmanuel Sanders. They've done some things mid-season. They went and got Chase Young. The Niners have been reasonably active the last couple of years. We knew they were going to be a little bit less active, going a little bit for the lesser known type signings, C-level free agents, but we didn't think it was going to be to the point where it is right now, where like we really could use a defensive lineman or two, and they are just refusing.
Who do they have? They have Nick Bosa, Evan Anderson, and
I'm not
Robert Beal.
Yeah, they have
Drake Jackson.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad, but we're going to break down who's still left for a defensive edge rusher in free agency. Does any of these moves make any sense? And we're going to talk about how we feel about the Niners moving forward into 2025 when we come right back. We're going to take a quick break. I'm talking with Aaron of 49ers First Takes. We'll be right back. You're listening to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio. Your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour, every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Raiders suck.
Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter at any time. Be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, guys? If you're looking for the best coverage of all Northern California sports, including 49ers, Giants, Warriors, then check out the NorCal Sport Report with yours truly, Andre Fernandez, every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We have guests every single week talking 49ers, Giants, Warriors, Sharks, San Jose Earthquakes, and a whole lot more, plus 3C2A. You do not want to miss this show. So tune in Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Pacific Time to the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Minutes past the hour here on the NorCal Sports Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're talking with Aaron of 49ers First Takes. You can find him on YouTube and on X and on Instagram and on TikTok at 49ers First Takes. Okay, so Aaron, let's talk a little bit about this. you got that, Taryn. And you're next, too. Right? When I do SoCal, Lakers suck. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about... These are some of the edge rushers that are still available in free agency, and I wanted to go with you, Aaron, because I want to get your take on this. So let's go ahead and pull that up right now. We got, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong list. There we go. You got Azeez Ojulari, Charles Omenihu, Matthew Judon, Zadarius Smith, Dante Fowler, Joshua Uche. Out of all these players, I mean, at this point, any of these guys would look sexy to me. I'd be like, okay, yeah. Matthew Judon, okay, let's go. Charles Omenihu. What do you think about this list? Who would you rather see them go after?
It's tough. You like to have someone that's proven, right?
Yeah.
No, like last year with Leonard Floyd, he's a proven guy, gets 10 sacks a year, he's never hurt, blah, blah, blah. So guys like Zadarius Smith, older player, Dante Fowler, older player. Those would probably, if you had to just base on name value, would be, yeah, let's go after those guys. But man, double dip with some lesser known guys like a Matthew Judon or Azeez or even Joshua Uche. I wouldn't mind going a little bit younger and adding depth by bodies instead of going for one guy and, blowing your stack or your wad on one player. So, man,
it's tough.
I mean, there's none of them are going to get you a Super Bowl win based on
Nobody is.
But Nick Bosa right now has nobody across from him that can.
There's nobody. They're like, okay, double team him. What about those guys? They don't have anybody. Okay.
I understand what they wanted to do, and I get it. I'm understanding people are like, I said, I got to trust the process. But man, right now, just based on bodies on the team, like, what is your direction? What are you looking to do with this defensive line? I understand, you got rid of a couple big name guys that have big price tags that can't stop the run. The Niners were awful against the run last year. Awful. So I get that. But nothing's happening right now. And we're in what officially free agency began today. So technically I need to shut up and relax. But out of the whole list right now, if you had to put a gun to my head and say, who would you get based on just name value? Yeah, probably Zadarius or Dante Fowler. But I wouldn't mind going with the lesser known guys for lesser money. And they're younger too. So, hey, if they play well, the Niners could bring them back and sign them to a longer deal. So I don't know.
It's going to be interesting to see what they do. It's hard to see. Really, what this screams to me is that they are all in on the NFL draft. They are going to draft the shit out of this team. And I think that's where they're looking to really bounce back, is that they want to get as many players, as many quality players as possible. But here's my thing. I still hear rumors about, maybe they'll take Tyler Warren with the number 11 pick. I don't think they can take him.
No
because
way.
They haven't addressed the needs at defensive line, offensive line, linebacker. You cannot, I think, in my opinion, you cannot draft a tight end and Tyler Warren, who isn't going to be your starter, and not address the defensive line.
100%, bro. Like, this isn't that type of draft. You don't have the luxury picks this year.
You don't.
Every pick has to hit.
Every
like
pick.
Brockton said, Niners need to hit on the draft like the Rams. The Niners, there is so much pressure on the front office this year to nail this draft. They kind of nailed last year. I would say 8 out of 10. They did. If you had to give me a grade last year of the draft, I'd say the Niners were 8 out of 10. Kingston, and then I forgot the other player. I'm missing somebody, but the Niners need to have a stellar draft this year. Their scouts, John Lynch, they need to be having extra meetings. Kyle needs to be involved. Kyle not going to the combine based on what we know now about this offseason and what their plan is of getting cheaper, getting younger, going through the draft. Why were you not at the combine? I mean, this is like a make or break season. If the Niners have a porous season and have a really shitty roster going into 2025, man, someone's got to take the heat for that. Someone's got to fall on the sword. So,
But I mean,
yeah.
What do you think they focus on at number 11 pick? Do you think it's more focused on the interior defensive line or an edge rusher?
They got to go edge.
They have to go. I think they have to.
They need a bookend for Nick. Nick needs help.
If you would have signed Joey Bosa, that's maybe you have some options there, some flexibility. But I think,
yes.
I mean, obviously, look, when you look at the top-rated edge rushers coming out of the draft, Abdul Carter, he's amazing. Not going to be there at 11. No fucking way. Mikhail Williams from Georgia probably won't be there. Mike Green might be there. Jalen Walker, maybe. James Pierce Jr., that's the guy I want at edge rusher. I think he's good. I like some of the tape that I saw of him, but he may not even be there. He might go earlier than 11.
Listen, if that's the case, right, and some of these top guys are not there, I would not be pissed if they drop back a couple slots, let somebody jump into 11 and they double dip in the first round and they go get an edge and a tackle, defensive tackle.
If they were able to double dip, that would be fucking amazing.
Yeah.
But I think if you trade a first round pick to trade back, you don't get one in return. You just get like an extra second round pick or extra, third round pick.
Right. You're right. It would have to be like an early second or back half.
Something like that. Yeah, where it's close to the first.
Tackle at pick 29. Like, I don't know.
But I mean, you got guys like on the interior, you got guys like Walter Nolan. A little questionable if how he is against the run, but I think he'd be a good candidate. Mason Graham, love to have this guy. Probably won't be there. He'll be gone probably in top 6. Kenneth Grant, Darius Alexander out of Toledo, Shamir Stewart. That's another guy I could see them going for as well. I could see them drafting Shamir Stewart. The guys that I think are realistically going to be available for the Niners at number 11, I think my prediction will be James Pierce, Shamir Stewart, and possibly Mike Green might be available. I also think that Ashton Genty might be available as well. And I worry about that because I can see Kyle Shanahan saying, hey, I really want that guy. Like, oh, shit. Okay, he really wants Ashton Genty. Oh, let's just do it. But this year, who knows? They're like, no, fuck him. Whoever he wants, we're going to get the opposite. You never know. Parag's probably going to be in the room. Like, shut up. Quiet. You're a coach. We decide everything. So we'll see what they do. I think if I had to make a prediction on who they're going to get, it's going to be either James Pierce Jr. or it's going to be, what's his name? Shamir Stewart at Texas A&M. Those are the two guys. One of those two guys will be a Niner. And, Shamir Stewart, I think fills a lot of needs for them. He can do edge. He could do interior. He's versatile. Freak athlete. I think this guy is going to end up being a Niner, or it's going to be James Pierce Jr. if he's still available. So you look at it this way, right? We talk about one of these guys is going to fill one of the spots on the defensive line. They're going to draft another player somewhere down the line. I bet you they feel like they can fill a defensive line starting spot and one edge rushing defensive line starting spot in this draft. So that's why they don't feel so like pressured to kind of sign these guys right away. They want to see who's left. And yes, Steve-O, Kinlaw got paid. That
Why?
made 0 sense.
Why?
0 sense.
He's awful.
You got rid of Jonathan Allen for Javon Kinlaw and you're giving him $30 million? That was like,
you
what?
wouldn't pay Jonathan Allen, but you'd pay Javon Kinlaw, who is a mental case, injury prone, and he's not good. He's just not.
He's not good.
He's
not good.
To me, that to me, and maybe they know something we don't about Jonathan Allen, and maybe it's good that the Niners didn't get him. But man, that doesn't look. You're right. That's a bad look.
That's a bad look. Now, at the same time, we're talking about guys like Solomon Thomas and Javon Kinlaw and how they may have come to the Niners at a low price. They both got contracts. Of course, the Cowboys dumbasses had to jump in and be like, we'll get Solomon Thomas, former number 3 pick. Like, no.
Who's not good at anything.
He's not good at anything. He looks like Dak Prescott's older brother.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. I know. He said King. That's why Kinlaw must have had some dirt on Adam Peters.
He's got nudie
something
or like weird. Never mind. I was going to say something, but I might have found a certain. Never mind.
Look,
Anyways,
Adam Peters, Adam, and you can say whatever you want. I don't care. Adam Peters did an amazing job last season, but Adam Peters reminds me of how I used to be in fantasy baseball and fantasy football. Well, I would try and get these veteran guys that I knew were good, and these are the guys that I trusted, as opposed to trying to get younger. He's been getting all these old guys that he knows, guys like Javon Kinlaw, guys like Deebo Samuel, Bobby Wagner, who's like
ancient,
as old as my dog.
I'm 35. He's pretty much my age.
Yeah. Can you imagine going out there and playing another season? My God.
Yeah, it's he wouldn't have been I'll tell you what though, someone like him wouldn't have been a bad move to replace a guy like
Greenlaw.
Just as a veteran, as an older player that's been in the league. If you brought him in just for that, but like still, he's old.
Yeah, and I agree. Kinlaw would have been a decent pickup if he didn't get that fat ass contract. If they would have brought him in and he came on for like $5 million, $6 million, I'd be like, okay, for 1 year.
Yeah, that's the worst kind of thing for a guy like him. You give him that much guaranteed
and
money,
then he gets hurt. And it's like,
he has no incentive to play hard because he
look.
Just got
if
paid.
the Niners are going to target anybody this offseason, out of that list that I had up, let me pull that back up. I would love for them to get Azeez Ojulari. The problem is that I don't see Azeez coming here for less than $10 million. I see him wanting like $12 million, $11 million, $10 million with massive incentives.
Yeah,
I don't see him coming cheap.
He's a young player.
He's young, and that's his value. Is that I'm young. I'm younger than all those guys on that fucking list right there. Charles Omenihu, he's getting old now. I'd love to have him, but he's getting old. Matthew Judon, he's not too old. Zadarius Smith, he's old. Dante Fowler, sort of getting there. So I think that
I would go for the top two if you could bring them both in.
It depends on how much they want to spend. I mean,
right? You know what I mean?
And here's the problem: is that I think a lot of these names that are out there on this list, I think they're trying to base it off who they draft, but we won't know who they draft until April 13th. So they have to make some acquisitions now.
You say April 13th. The draft's way later.
It's way later. When is it?
It's like the last week. It's like the last weekend of the month. I think it's on like the 29th through the 30 something. Yeah. I was like, did they move it up this year?
No, I just that was a date that I remembered. That's probably wrong, but anyway, they still have all that, right? So they can't wait for the draft. They have to get somebody in here because the longer you wait, these guys are going to start signing elsewhere, and then you got to make sure that you have some of these guys to surround the young guys. You can't just roll with all young guys. They're going to be like, "What am I doing?" Oh, Nick Bosa, he's the veteran leader, and Evan Anderson is also. Not really. He's kind of young too. So they have a lot of work to do. But I wanted to bring this up. This is courtesy of BetUS. They're a sponsor of the DreArea Sports Show, not IE Sports Radio. Sorry, Larry. But this is a cool little chart. How worried are you on a level of 1 to 10? And anyone watching in the chat, if you want to chime in with a number, please do. How worried are you, Aaron, on a level from 1 to 10? Where are you at right now with the 49ers offseason?
I probably started at a 3, but I would say right now I'm at a 6, just based on some of the lack of moves in certain areas. Mm-hmm. And also just based on the fact that this is a really, really important year for the 49ers draft-wise. I mean, they really got to hit it. I feel like based on how bad last season was, and based on how there was so much equity in some of these older players, and we kind of got away with, people maybe there were so many players on this team that had built up equity that maybe shouldn't have been here, like a Trent Taylor, something like that. Holding on to a guy like Kyle Juszczyk for way too long. Yeah. But I'm about at a 7 just because, we knew this was coming, but just there's a real lack of there's a real big feeling of unknown right now, Dre.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of unknown. This is a scary offseason, man. Like
I mean, at
John
least
and
with
Kyle
Joey
really
Bosa, it
fixed
gave
it.
you something like, okay, we know that he's gonna be the other bookend, or he's gonna be a rotational piece. Cool, we got a little bit more reinforcements, but nothing. They're like, the Niners could actually go after Jonathan Allen. No,
They didn't
he
do
signed
that.
with the Vikings immediately.
Yeah. And then the funny thing about it, we haven't even talked about, and I don't know if you want to bring this up,
What?
but the Brock Purdy contract. Like,
They
hearing
haven't
that
even
there's
addressed
not,
it.
they're not even in a hurry.
No, not a
Somebody's
hurry
like,
at all.
There was someone was like, "What do you think? Are you worried or you not?" And I was like, "I think it ain't gonna get done till freaking probably August, like the last couple ones." Like, man, this is like such a huge off season where they got to make so many moves and they got to be right and they got to hit on so much stuff. And I just, man, dude, like, give us a little bit of hope with some of the moves that you're making. You know,
Something.
there's a lot of C-level free agents. They're really basing it on hitting in the draft. They really got to every pick's got to be a slam dunk. It's definitely 7-8 is definitely real.
Yeah,
A lot
I'm
of
an
people
8.
are like, let the offseason play out. I am letting the offseason play out.
We haven't
but
gotten there yet. Look at my post. It looks like it looks like some Franken beans right there. Okay, so so and then Terrence says 7 as well. 8. Rockin' New Era says 8. Steve-O, he says 8. Everyone's just worried about what they're going to do. And look, do I have faith that they can draft really well? Aaron chimes in finally with 7, which he said it. But I think that it's my worry is this, is that historically under the Shanahan and Lynch regime, they have not drafted well. Aside from this last draft, they have done a horrible job.
Yeah, they've drafted, unless it's a slam dunk player like a Nick Bosa, they've really.
But that was an obvious pick. It was like they're going to draft him for sure. Even the analysts knew it. They had the number 3 pick or number 2 pick that year, and they were going to draft him. I mean, obviously, look, they struck gold with some of these players. George Kittle, Brock Purdy, studs. But you can't rely on just a couple of studs. You have to hit on more than 1 or 2 players.
Yeah.
And this is the case. This team this year is suffering because of the Trey Lance trade.
Yes,
they gutted the draft so hard that this past offseason, they had to sign guys like Leonard Floyd and make trades for Malik Collins and get Jordan Elliott and try and rebuild this defensive line and some of the secondary because they didn't draft anybody. They had no depth. And so I think they reached a point where they said, okay, this is the year we have to do it. And originally I was saying, hey, look, this is the year that they have to go all in because the Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara. They got to go for it. But I almost feel like the ownership was like, hey, look, the Super Bowl is going to be in Santa Clara. We're going to fucking make a ton of money this season. You need to cut spending and start rebuilding for the following year. We have the cushion of money that we need. Let's make sure that we're cutting costs and getting this team right for 2026 and 2027 and so on. Guys, we have 275 watching right now. Make sure you like and share and subscribe to IE Sports Radio, to DreArea Sports, and you make sure that you go subscribe over to 49ers First Takes. He's got some awesome content over there, over on YouTube. Follow him on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. So, with that being said, look, the Niners are making these subtle little moves, but there's another move out there that they could make. And I wanted to get your take on this because they just announced this a few minutes ago, is Cooper Kupp is getting released. Do you think he is a guy the Niners could target? I'd say no. Because you got Pearsall already and Jennings, you got the underneath guys. I think that maybe
brought him in with an expectation that he was not going to be the Cooper Kupp we saw a couple years ago when he was healthy and in his prime. If you brought him in strictly to be another proven NFL body, as far as like he has produced at the NFL level, if you brought him in on a cheap deal, and that's it. But I'm just like,
he's not going to come on a cheap deal.
We have so many other glaring needs on defense.
This right here.
You'll end up with the Chiefs, of course.
This right here. This is what I'd be like, of course he's going to go to the Chiefs, right? Of course.
Just to keep him away from the Chiefs, yeah, maybe sign him. But the Niners got the freaking Rams in their own division to worry about before they worry about the Chiefs.
The Chiefs are like, well, we lost DeAndre Hopkins. Let's go ahead and get Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
But look, we're not the only team that's being gutted. If you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they've been gutted. They lost Josh Sweat. They lost Milton. They lost a lot of guys. They traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, but
they got rid of Darius Slay.
They have a lot of really good equity in their fan base. So if they
they won the Super Bowl. And so really, this is what they should have done last season after they lost Super Bowl, the Niners. They should have just got rid of everybody like they're doing
so
this
if
season.
They had a bad season to be like, well, they lost a bunch of people. Last year, we kept everybody and we still sucked.
And they were all old and they all got hurt. But I think this draft, they looked at it and said, dude, there's so much depth at the defensive line position, at the running back position, at offensive line. It's a deep draft. So they were like, hey, this is the year that we need to go all in on the draft and get rid of some of this, trim the fat off of this team and move on from some of these guys that are a little long in the tooth and get younger. And he said it himself. He said, we need to get younger, faster, and cheaper. And what's one of the things that Kyle Shanahan said about his team at the bye week? He says, our team looks slow. And I think what he wanted to say was our team looks old and slow. And guess what? They were all expensive too. Overpaid. Exactly. Kyle Juszczyk, I love Kyle Juszczyk, but he had to go.
I haven't been a fan of his for a couple of years.
No.
I just, the whole thing with his wife and the coats and the Cabo clique and all this stuff. There was just...
you never want to have a Cabo clique. That just shows you're not winning anything.
Right. And it's just the fact that there was all this, when they were carrying Trent Taylor on your practice squad last year really bothered me. The Niners, there was the thought last year that we were going to turn this thing around during the season because we've done it before. That was the talk. And I've seen a couple tweets about this, that the Niners relied so much on their past accomplishments last year, thinking they were going to break through, and they didn't do it. And there was too much of that equity stored up that needed to get cut from this team. They needed to get hungry again. They needed to get more focused. They'd become a little too lackadaisical. Everybody's comfortable. Everybody's paid. Everybody's here. We're all friends. We all hang out in the off season. I'm kind of liking the fact that now they got to re-earn it and they got to re-bolster this roster. And it's going to be a lot of young, hungry, healthy bodies coming in here who hopefully, if they're good and that the Niners sit on them, they needed to when they say recalibrate, it wasn't just a financial thing. I think they needed to get rid of some of these old heads, people that had got here that got a little comfortable. And I think Juszczyk is the perfect example of a player who has, for what they're paying him and for what they're getting out of him, wasn't worth it. They'll eat that contract this year, probably. Hopefully next year they don't have to pay $10 million for a fullback. That's just stupid. That's just that's like a luxury thing that you do when you've winning
on a dying position that most teams aren't even using anymore.
Thank you, Rock, and I appreciate that. Yay!
Thank you, Rockin' New Era 84. Okay, so I agree that Kyle Juszczyk, as much as I love the character and the personality, he made some clutch catches as well in the playoffs. It was time to move on from that. If you can't run the ball up the middle on the goal line, why do you have him?
Why are you here? Exactly.
Why are you here? And not only that, but I love what Rockin' New Era says right here. Kyle would draft a running back and won't stick with them because he's so reliant and obsessed with CMC. I agree, but also they did a second-round tender on Jordan Mason, which to me is they like to keep him around, but they took a gamble too. They say, hey, we're going to give you a second-round tender. So if somebody does sign you, we're going to get a second-round pick. A team may get desperate enough where they need a running back so bad that they're like, fuck it, this is a trade for that guy. He looked amazing first half of the season. And if they don't trade for him, they still got a legitimate number 2 running back. So I like that move. That was the move. If you watch the show, I actually said I would give him a second-round tender. Somebody told me in the chat, he's not worth that much money. He's not worth, I think it's like $5.6 million or 6 point whatever million. I think he is. I was like, dude, I would give him a second round. You give him a third round tender, gone. And you get a third round pick. That's pretty good. But I would say, hey, look, you were so productive last season. I'll give you a second round tender. And if somebody wants to pay you that much money or more, I get a second round pick back in return. I'll take that.
One thing I wanted to add.
Go ahead.
Another thing that really bothered me about Kyle Juszczyk is he was never willing to take a pay cut for this team. For the amount of money he's made.
Yeah.
And how long he's been in the league. And, you talk about winning, culture, and all this other stuff. And you're not willing to take a pay cut, to help a team, help with them signing players or freeing up cap space. And then there's a lot of other players on this team that would and did over the last couple of years. I just thought that was the fact that he didn't want to take a pay cut and he'd rather be released has told me all I needed to know. And I know a lot of people say, well, man, that's, never mess with a man's money. And, if he, all that kind of stuff. I get that. But there's so many other players on this team that are way more productive and way more valuable than him. And he took a pay cut last year. I don't believe he did he?
He did. He did take but I mean, it was a small one. Yeah, from 8 to 4. He took one pay cut last season. So
that's too expensive. No one should be
too expensive for a fullback. He's not a tight end.
Steve was like, listen, Aaron, know your shit. I'm sorry.
Steve was like, what the fuck? Aaron, thank you so much for coming on here, dude. This was a lot of fun. Obviously, we'll be doing it again throughout the season, off season, that is.
Right. And I'm not a basketball fan, but I am so rooting for the Warriors to win the title this year.
Absolutely.
I hate the Lakers.
So do I.
I hate LeBron.
You hear that, Taryn? You hear that? Yeah. Dang, Aaron. No, yeah, I hate the Lakers. They suck. He's a big Laker fan. Anyhow, Aaron, let everybody know where they can find you and whatever you got cooking for the rest of the week.
Not much cooking right now. I might, as free agency comes to a close, but closer more to the draft. 49ers First Takes Facebook, or no, 49ers First Takes YouTube, 49ers First Takes Instagram, 49ers First Takes X, and 49ers First Takes TikTok. TikTok is essentially just a lot of shorts. I'll go live on there during the season. A lot of people confuse me for Max Crosby. I am not Max Crosby. And then YouTube is more of what you're seeing here. A lot of collaborations. I think me and Dre are going to try to do something going into next year on some definitely. Sort of regular basis. So right now it's with the off season, it's kind of like whatever as far as live streams go whenever anybody's available. But as we get closer to the season, I'll definitely have more of a set schedule during the week as we talk about each game, wrap up each game, cover the game, what happened, and then as we look forward to the next one. So if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, then I would love for you to come to the channel. Thanks for having me on, Dre. I appreciate it, man.
Of course. Anytime, dude. Absolutely. Guys, when we come back, we're going to be talking Golden State Warriors basketball here on the NorCal Sports Report, episode 21 on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you for watching this video. If you want more of this content, then check out some of these recommended videos right here on your screen. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by going to my website, which is nicotina.net, and there are memberships available under DreArea Sports.